Okay, I kind of lied a bit when I said the next clip would hopefully be able to set playing. There are two last little things that need to be taken care of before this can go back in its cabinet. One of which is dealing with the damage to the cone right here. I did put a little bit of rubber cement on there, but the tear is fairly apparent, and I have the materials necessary to patch that. And the other reason is because we need to get rid of this cord. I was originally going to leave it on there because this set had a floating ground, and I had just gone in and replaced the last safety cap with these two to make a 0.1Y type. However, I realized that this resistor right here is basically making these a moot point, because you still have a direct connection to the resistor between this power connection and then the chassis. So while this will decouple some of the noise, I discovered that by trying to use a lower value capacitor, I tried using a 0.01 rather than a 0.1, you get some pretty nasty motorboating on the lower end of the dial scale. So putting in the proper value made by these two guys here solved that issue. So we're going to go ahead and replace the power cord. Now this, I run into these occasionally, the kind of strain relief they have, this cord lock thing right here is basically just a pair of wafers crushing the cord between it, and there's no way in hell you're ever going to get the new cord through this hole because the wire diameter and the insulation is considerably larger. So normally what I do is I drill these rivets out and I try to remove it, but getting the bit in here is not going to be easy. So what I'm going to try to do is use a blade and just cut back this material, and I'll put a bushing, a rubber bushing in there, and then I'll knot the cord so you can't pull it out. And then we'll take a look at dealing with the speaker in a moment here. Alright, so we got the new cord installed. Got a strain relief knot in there, new rubber bushing, and got the hot lead set up to go through the power switch. Actually, yes, we got the hot lead going through the power switch, the neutral going through the other tube sockets. I decided that was really just the best way to go about things. Generally with an AA5 or hot chassis set, you try to put the hot lead through the power switch so that if it does connect through the chassis by any means, resistor otherwise, when it is off, this chassis is electrically isolated from the hot lead of the set, provided the electrician in your house actually knew what he was doing and made sure to put hot to hot and neutral to neutral. Yeah, you never know what you might get. Which means that the next step here is going to be dealing with that tear in the cone. So there are a number of ways to do this, but the only one that I'm familiar with and have actually used with some success is a combination of rubber cement and washed out dryer sheets. You can use all sorts of different materials. Some people have used coffee paper, coffee filter paper. I tried that. It was a little bit too stiff. I find that when you take a dryer sheet and you wash the fabric softener out of it, it turns into this very thin, almost web-like material that's very flexible, and if you wet the area with rubber cement and then gently apply it on there, let it sit for a little bit and absorb that, and then you can work it into you have these ridges in the cone here. And what you do, or what I do, is I wet the area first, I apply it, I just get the edges to stick there, let it sit for a bit, and then I might put some more over it, and then slowly work it so that it conforms to the original shape. And then after that, I usually apply a little bit of black paint to try and make it more appropriate color for the rest of the cone. Obviously this cone is no longer a dark color, it never was, but just like keeping it uniform. So I'm going to go ahead and get a dryer sheet cleaned out and ready, and then get the rubber cement over here and see if I can't do this on camera. Alright, so now we're ready to actually do the repair. So just to give you an idea what we're working with, here's a standard dryer sheet, and you fold these out and you get 3 fairly decent sized sections. Honestly, you're never going to use that much of it unless you've got a giant chunk blend out of speaker, which at that point you don't even want to try patching it. You might as well just better off either finding a new speaker or reconing the thing. So I cut a third of this off and washed out all of the fabric softeners. So now we have the lighting's not that great. Just to give you a visual comparison, got this nice webbing here, and it's very flexible. And instead of just cutting a section off and covering the whole area, I like to try and cut smaller pieces if possible. But we've got that, we've got our rubber cement, hemostat for placement, and I like to use an old paintbrush, one of the largest ones. Something with a small round end, plastic or wood, that you can use to work it into small areas, and my pair of kid-safe scissors. And try and let gravity help us out here. See what I can do to get the camera moved in on the speaker cone itself, so we can see what we're actually working with. Yeah, that's not too bad. Try and rotate this around a little more. And we can see that it, I don't know, someone might have stuck something through the grill. It's not very easy to do. The surround itself is falling off, the glue is failing, so I imagine at some point it was rattled around so much the brittleness of the cone just caused it to tear from age. So, take a look here. Let me get this knob out of my line of sight, because I cannot tell what I'm doing from this angle. See how big this is, and what we need to do to get it working. So the first thing I think we'll deal with is the section up in here, the rounded area. So we'll start by just trimming a rectangular section out of this. And there we are, all back together, all spruced up. I'm actually really happy with the way the cabinet turned out. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can really do for the knobs once the plastic degrades like this. It's not just a matter of scraping off the surface and trying to get to whatever underneath it. The whole plastic right down to the center is turned this kind of almond color, so I'll have to leave that, sadly. And I really didn't want to paint over them, because once the paint flakes off, it looks cheesy and cheap. And turn it around here just to get a good idea of the overall result. You can see there's a bit of a depth difference here. I wasn't fully able to get that quite right, but if you're not looking right up at it, it's not super obvious. New power cord's been installed, polarized, everything's nice and clean. And on the bottom, I went ahead and I gave it some soft felt pads for feet so you can sit on a surface without scraping the paint off the bottom. And of course, I guess we need to fire it up and see if it still sounds as good, or if I have to take it apart again, which would really suck at this point.
You know, sat and wandered his way through. Well, tax season's here, and you're wondering, do I really need
trap, you want experienced technicians. So you call...
Predicate for a world of cataclysm that will kill the earth with dark.
Nothing but positivity on the radio these days.
Sponsor of today's game, Modoc Service.
No. I mean, they got their laptop open.
Entry in the D League or the G League as it is now, and shooting the trees and, you know, playing passing lane, playing that
Yeah, I'm happy with the way this set turned out.